Hello, I'm Ted Abernathy, and I try to join you every quarter to talk a little bit about the Missouri economy. It certainly has been an interesting ride the last couple of years as we've tried to take a look and see how Missouri is doing compared to the rest of the country. We've bounced back sort of post high end of COVID, and the U.S. Employment numbers are almost back to the pre-pandemic level. As you can see on the slide, Missouri has parroted or mirrored the national average with a big drop last year when nationally we lost about 22 million jobs in March and April of 2020. Now we're back almost all the way back up, and Missouri has also seen that bounce back. Missouri's at 95% of the jobs it had before the pandemic. When we look at the individual states, 10 states have made it back above their pre-pandemic level. Missouri hasn't quite made it back there. It's 0.7% below the level before, but as you can see on the chart, that's among the leaders in the country. A lot of states are still above the national average of 1.4% job losses. When you look at Missouri compared to the surrounding states, both Arkansas and Tennessee are above their pre-pandemic level, but Missouri is right there with the next group of states that have been successful in getting their jobs back. It's a mixed bag when it comes to the individual industries. Missouri's had a huge jump in construction. You can see that 7.3% jump from February of 2020 to February of 2022. That's much higher than the national average. Also a big jump in trade, transport, and utilities. There's a few places that are areas that we're going to watch for concern. They're mostly in the white-collar areas and would mostly be in Kansas City and St. Louis, around financial services and professional and technical services that haven't done quite as well as the national average. Around the state, Joplin has had the best performance in job growth. Springfield and Columbia doing really well. The rest of the state, a little bit mixed, not all the way back quite yet, but again, it's uneven in industry and it's uneven in geography. One of the top issues that everybody's talking about currently is inflation. Within the first 6 months after the pandemic hit, American households had accumulated about $1 trillion in excess revenue or savings in their accounts, and we were already having real supply issue problems due to logistics around the country. So it's not a surprise that too many dollars chasing too few goods caused us to have inflation. It's record setting for the last 40 years, and the Fed is going to do their best to try to raise interest rates a couple times in the next few months, probably, to try to curb that. But right now it's the hottest topic in the economy. It's driving up employment costs. The amount of wages has jumped pretty dramatically in the last year, and there's no end in sight for that as we all compete for labor. The labor market flows are the second big story. We have a lot more job openings right now than we have people looking for work. That's part of the story, and so we're having not near as many people applying for the jobs that are vacant. The other part of the story is the quit rate. So a lot of people have different choices, and they're quitting their current jobs, in many cases changing industries altogether. And so the chart here shows the difference in the red and blue lines, which is the available jobs and the hire rate. And then down at the bottom, that quit rate, which has been building for almost a decade, really has gone up. So as jobs are plentiful, people look around and make a lot of decisions about their life. COVID's had a lot of other impacts. Accelerated automation is everywhere. Companies are trying their best to figure out how to use robotics and automation to eliminate jobs. That'll happen, but they'll also create jobs at the same time, meaning that we'll have to do a lot of retraining. Remote work is here to stay. People seem to enjoy it. The productivity numbers look pretty good in the first year. A third of companies are now, one out of every 3 companies is now advertising remote work. That's up from a quarter just a year ago. And the people who are posting those jobs are saying they're getting 3 times as many applicants for the remote jobs as for those jobs that are not remote. Another thing that's impacting the Midwest quite a bit is mergers and acquisitions, especially coming from coastal companies. So about a third of the execs say that they're now using mergers and acquisitions as a way to accumulate talent. used to be the main reason was to get market share, but now it's finding that talent out in the Midwest, sometimes being allowed to be remote in the Midwest, but doing work for national firms that are based in some of the major metro areas. We're going to be facing this problem with a lack of workforce for a long time to come. Our fertility rates have dropped consistently over the last 10 years, 15 years, and so we have a lot fewer people, children coming up through the ranks. We've also seen a big drop in the number of immigrants coming to work in America, so that combination means that we're going to have tight labor markets for the foreseeable future. And then the final thing that's on everyone's mind right now is the geopolitics associated with Russia and China and Ukraine, and how is that going to manifest itself? What's it going to do to our economy? The U.S. is having a moment where we reconsider the geopolitics. I think it's fair to say that post-Cold War, we got a little bit laissez-faire about our politics. Now we're reassessing our hard power, military power, what we're doing with soft power and our alliances, and also how do we wield the economic power. We're about a quarter of the world's economic base, and how do we make that work for us? So overall, the economy is in a lot of flux right now. Inflation, workforce issues, and geopolitics are the main things. Missouri has come out of the pandemic pretty well, and we'll keep our finger on the pulse and look at it quarterly. Hope you've enjoyed this, and I'll be back with you next quarter.